here. It's our first show. Hey, girl. It is Margaret, and I'm so glad that you've joined me. I can't tell you how excited I am to launch this new show, and especially to have the most amazing panel with me today. And we'll bring them on in just a minute, but I wanted to tell you a little bit about myself and my reasons for bringing Hey Gurl to the airwaves. If you've never been to Detroit or spent any time in Hamtramck, here's a short get to know me and a little bit about why I wanted to do this show for you. So I've been an improviser since 1996. I was in the cast of the Second City Detroit when there was one of those. And then shortly after that, I started the Planet Ant Improv Colony team at Planet Ant Theater in Hamtramck with one of our guests today, Nancy Hayden and Joshua Funk. And then my third life or whatever is as the executive director of Y Arts, which is the arts and humanities branch of the YMCA of Metropolitan Detroit. And we bring arts classes and experiences to young people and the community. And it's been a very, very fulfilling part of my life. I will surely tell you more about that as the shows carry on. But I really want to quickly mention two things, which I will mention again. If you want to support arts, two things that are very important to me are Planet Ant Theater, donate to Planet Ant, or if you can, donate to Y Arts, which is ymcadetroit.org/YArts. Got to put the ask right at the top. So I started comedy in the 90s. It was a different time in the 90s. And our understanding of everything is completely different now, especially gender relations and what the role of women is and how we can joke about that or not. And also what our roles are within the community and how we work within that. So I have some amazing women that we're going to talk about their experience, also what they've created over the years, and also just have some laughs along the way. Before we get to that, I have a few people I want to thank and introduce to you. First and foremost, our technical director, our tech diva, Jess Cooper. So are you with us, Jess? You want to say hi? Hi, Jess.
Hello.
Now, I've known Jess for a few years, but this is our first chance to collaborate, and I'm very excited. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Anything you want to share with anyone about your experience as a woman in this creative world?
Sometimes it's weird.
Well put, Jess.
Yeah. Sometimes there's some roadblocks you don't expect, but makes us tougher.
It does.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. Jess is teaching me something new every day about how we're doing what we're doing, and we're learning a lot already, aren't we?
Yes, definitely.
Oh, yes. Well, thank you, Jess. You'll be seeing her regularly. One person who will do much, but you may never see, who's like a mysterious behind the scenes person, is Ruth Blom Hunter. She's our producer, and we're very excited to have her on board. I also want to give a shout out to Kate Holmes and everyone at the Detroit Women of Comedy Festival for support in getting things started, and also getting together some questions from women in the comedy community in Detroit for today's show. And then I have to thank a man, which is mad hard to do, but we were kind of laughing because when I had the idea for this show, the first thing I had to do was go ask a man for help. But then I found all these amazing women, so it worked out in the end. But he was very, very helpful and did some artwork and some great connecting me with other people to make this happen. So big thanks to Mike McGettigan from Planet Ant for all of your help. Okay, now that's all of the housekeeping. We're going to do this show monthly, so long as as my Wi-Fi holds out. So we'll have some amazing people coming, and our next show is going to be September 5th. I'll tell you that again at the end, so you can mark your calendar. But for now, let's bring on the amazing women we have lined up for today. So to begin with, I had to put this woman on the roster because we have been doing this comedy thing side by side both in the same city and many different cities over many years. She's someone I admire greatly. And she's originally from this area, from the, Grand Blanc, Flint area, but has been in many different markets and has had a long, very successful career with the Second City, just moving back from LA to Chicago. And I'm so thrilled she could be here today. Please warmly welcome Nancy Hayden.
Yay! Hi!
Hi, my darling.
Well, hello, my darling.
The thing I did. Oh, hey, girl.
Hey, girl.
Hey, girl.
Well, hey, girl.
Hey, girl.
Well, hey there.
I didn't mention that we are in a troupe together.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we
Bottle
are.
bread.
We are a troupe together.
We are a troupe together. Quickly, do you want to share how that troupe came about?
I sure will. I would love to, Margaret. Thank you. One night, we were at the Planet Ant on a Monday, as was our wont for many, many years, getting ready to do some improv. And the guest team for that particular Monday didn't show up, which happens from time to time. There was no guest team. And at the very last minute, we needed a guest team to open for the home team. And Margaret and I were sitting next to each other on the couch going, where are we going to get a guest team? Where are we going to get a guest team? And then it was like, what if we're the guest team? So we decided very quickly to become a 2-woman troupe. Don't know why it hadn't happened before then, but it did at that moment. We were already best friends, roommates. We've worked together many, many times, but that was the beginning of the 2-person troupe. And then we decided we needed a name. We were going to call ourselves Red, because we were both redheads, but then we had to fess up and admit that we were both redheads. So instead of Red, we decided to call ourselves Bottle of Red.
Well, welcome, Nancy. Thank you so much for being with us.
I mean, thanks for having me, man. I'm so glad to be here.
I'm so glad to have you. Let's make this a party and bring on our second guest, who I initially became a real huge fan of on Twitter, just because she was constantly making me laugh with her tweets.
Kills it
on Twitter. And then came to Detroit to play with her troupe Repeat for the Detroit Women of Comedy Festival. And is a writer for the reboot of Saved by the Bell, and just was a writer for Busy Tonight, and just a whole score of great shows and projects. We're really thrilled to have Shantira Jackson with us.
Yeah. I'm going to move down the couch.
Hi.
Hi, darling. How are you?
Hey, girl.
Hey, girls. Hi.
Hey, girl.
I'm doing really great. I was really nervous because, like, when Nancy was talking, I was like, I think I have just enough time to put a little honey in my tea. And then, I put the honey in my tea, and then I heard Margaret go, and the next person, I was like, it's probably me. Oh God.
You made it. I hope your tea is appropriately honeyed.
It is. It truly is. It's like right there is where I went. It's not like I live in a mansion. This is the house. This is the whole house.
And it is a midday tea for you because you're on the West Coast, right?
Yes. It's like 4. Like 4.
Yeah. A late afternoon tea. It's proper tea time.
It's proper tea time.
Nancy would know. She married a Brit, so
yeah.
She knows when tea time is.
I married a Brit who doesn't drink tea.
Oh wow.
He doesn't like tea.
Well, this is decaf. I can't have caffeine or I'll be up all night.
Yeah, same.
Oh, really?
Same.
Oh yeah. So if I drink caffeine, the only time I'll drink it at night is if I have pizza and there's a Mexican Coke around.
No.
I will
Coke with a real sugar.
I will stay up for a real Mexican Coke with a slice of pizza. But other than that, after 3 o'clock, no more caffeine for me.
That's worth staying up for. I'm jealous of Margaret because she can drink coffee like morning, noon, and night, and it never bothers her.
Oh, since the pandemic, I'm on about 6 cups a day,
yeah.
And the last one's at 10 o'clock at night.
I have to savor my cup of coffee in the morning because it's all I get. Because if I drink it after a certain time, same thing, I can't sleep.
I'm a decaf lady. This is a decaffeinated mint green tea.
Ooh, yum.
I'm having flashbacks of the cruise ships, which I'm sure will come up when I think of the cane sugar Coca-Cola. That was
Oh, yeah, that's right.
that was
Yes, I did one cruise
I
ship.
get that there.
Oh, you
yeah.
did? Oh, well, then we'll have lots to
We
talk
will
about.
chat about that.
Too. All right, let's bring in our final guest, who is pretty much a legend as far as funny women go. As I was telling the other ladies, I found out she has her own Wikipedia page. That's how amazing she is. So, yes,
We bowed to the greatness.
Chicago legend. I had a chance to play with her at the Detroit Improv Festival last year, and I don't want to say publicly how much of a highlight of my life it was, but kind of was. Don't tell anybody.
I'm only going to say it on my new streaming show.
Well, nobody's watching anyway, so it's fine. So known to play with lots of amazing duos and started, was a founder for the Annoyance Theater and a Second City legend. Like, she's everything. So I won't waste any more time because you all know how amazing she is. Let's welcome Susan Messing to the party. Hey, girl.
Ooh.
Hi, friends.
Hi, buddy.
I think you said a nice intro, but I'm not really sure.
Can you hear us at all? I know we were having some.
I'm just reading lips and hoping for the best.
Oh.
Well, hopefully that echo means you can hear a little bit of us.
Turn it up, Jess. Turn it up so I can hear.
We were having a little. We may have to type to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're having technical difficulties.
Susan, you can hear, but she's having trouble hearing us. So we're going to try to do our best to work through that. Thank you. Hey, girl.
Hey, girl. Lonely girl. How you doing? What is it? Joni girl? Hey there.
Gorgeous
What I can
girl.
do
Gorgeous girl. That's what I was
I
saying.
will try to type what they're saying in the comments.
Oh, okay.
So
Just tell me
Jess-
when I'm supposed to be there.
Jess, being the amazing woman that she is going to do double duty as a stenographer, and she's going to type to Susan so she can hear what we're saying.
Nice.
So, let's start at the beginning. I want to know, to give Jess's hands a little break from Shantira first. What are you up to creatively right now? What are you doing?
Right now, I'm working on a pilot that I wrote, and I'm gonna try to use all of this white guilt to get somebody to buy it from me. That's what I'm working on privately, like my own thing. And then, like, I have a podcast coming out in a couple weeks. When I used to write for Busy Phillips' late night show, and now we're gonna have a podcast with me, her, and the showrunner, who was Casey St. Ong. We're gonna have a podcast together that comes out in a couple weeks. So on all platforms. So that'll be really fun. So that's what I'm working on, like, work wise. Yeah.
Sure. How are you doing with the quarantine thing? Why did I say that so weird? Quarantine.
I mean, I'm trying to make quarantine work for me. So like, I bought a KitchenAid, but not like, it was on sale for like $200. That's the most I was willing to pay for one. So I got a KitchenAid, and I've been like going really hard making bread. But like not sourdough, because like I don't like it enough to have, like, people keep making it and I don't understand, because like I like sourdough for like one piece of toast every once in a while. I don't want an entire loaf of sourdough bread at my house, let alone 4. So I've been making like these, like, it's just like, it's not a bread that I want to eat that much, right? Brioche, I would have 5 loaves of brioche any day. I don't need 5 loaves of sourdough. So I started learning how to make like Japanese, like, milk buns, like soft little yeast rolls. Like, I don't like, I grew up in the South, and we used to go to like Quincy's, like Golden Corral, those like, they have those big sweet yeast rolls.
Yep.
I've been making those.
Oh, that's so good.
So that's what I've been doing. I've just been making like hella really, really soft, sweet bread.
Oh, I want to eat a room full of bread now.
That's what I've been doing.
I made we have a lamb night now. It's Friday, and now I have my husband makes these lamb steaks on the grill. Oh my god! And then I make pita bread like from dough and make pita bread. It's amazing.
Yes, I like that. I love a soft, delicious bread. That's
I agree.
my vibe.
I just think of those big, like thick, sweet rolls, like Chinese places have really good rolls like that.
That's what I like. That's what I've been doing.
I still
So
don't hear them though. I hear you. I mean, I hear
Welcome back, Susan. I don't know if you can hear us, but we love you. Lost in space.
everything sounds very dystopian. Very like
It adds something.
it really adds
Just
to the
don't hear you,
pandemic.
but I'm back. I heard you talking about bread.
Yes. So Nancy, what are you working on?
I mean, I'm working on, well, I just moved, so I'm working on getting my life resettled. We've been here for a little over a month. I'm always writing a couple different things, so you know, there's always a pilot in the works.
Yeah.
And I do have one of those that's been happening for a while, so I'm in the middle of a second draft, which can sometimes be more annoying than even a first draft. So it's like that after you get notes and now have to rework things. So working on that. I'm working on, trying to hopefully be part of the team that makes comedy a better place for everyone to live in. I've been working a lot on that, a lot of hours doing that. And some voiceover stuff. You know, I started dipping into that within the last few years. And studied a bunch when I was in LA. Within my last 2 years, I kind of dove into that. It was really fun to like be a student again and go. And I studied at a place called Colmanton in LA. And it's like a space talk. So I'm doing that. I'm doing auditions and fun voiceover stuff. And it's cool because it's like the industry that you can do from your home anyhow. So it makes the pandemic feel a little more normal. But that's about it.
Awesome. Busy enough. Well, look, Nancy impresses me because, as everybody knows, like outside of a ship and a short tongue, we might mute that, Jess, for a minute. Mute that. Sorry, Susan. Outside of a ship and like a stint in my teens as an exchange student, I don't leave Detroit really. So I am very impressed with all of the mobile ladies who have gone many places. And Nancy is like, you've done it all and done it twice. Like LA, Chicago, Detroit, Chicago, LA. It's like a palindrome.
Yeah, the Detroit Chicago thing was like a pinball thing for a little while there, from like the late 90s to the late aughts, I'd say it was like, because that was when I was directing a bunch too. So it was, I just kind of went where the work was, right? So it was like the Chicago, Detroit back and forth quite a bit. And then LA was twice. LA was kind of like bookends a little bit because I went to college there and then hadn't lived there again until just about 6 years ago. We moved out there and lived there until 2 months ago when we got in our car in the middle of a pandemic and drove to Chicago.
Amazing. It was fun. All right, I'm going to type to Susan the same question. Hi. Can you hear?
I heard a word.
We all knew it won't.
What are you doing creatively right now?
Who?
You.
Oh,
it's your turn.
I'm grieving.
Yeah.
In the age of COVID. Yeah. And every day I write to get the poison out. That's what I'm doing. It's a complicated grief.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does the writing help?
What?
Does the writing
help? Writing helps a lot. How ironic that my husband was a writer and I'm finally writing. So yes, I'm ready. As a matter of fact, Michael is right. Maybe I can show you where he is. Oh, he's right there underneath the Ohio dish towel. He says,
there he is.
Always wanted to be in the office.
Now, Susan lost her husband at the beginning of quarantine, and he's a comedy legend himself, So
Can't hear.
I would say that Susan had a harder quarantine than anyone I know. Because it was already at a very scary time and then to be going through that. So I think you're amazing is basically what I'm getting to. I'm telling her.
Aww.
Yeah.
Yes, that I think you're amazing.
Yeah.
Yes. Jess is typing that she also thinks you're amazing too.
That's sweet.
I'm glad to hear so much writing is going on in this room. I mean, that's where I'm living these days creatively. But I kind of took a turn, as Nancy knows, because I sort of went into the fiction realm. I started writing romance novels, which I've finished a lot, but I haven't published any yet. And now I just started a fantasy one about a guy who's a fawn. So we'll see. Might be spicy too. We'll see.
I love that. I have some friends who write romance novels. And
you do?
Yeah. My friend Rebecca Witherspoon writes like.
Oh, I follow her.
Yeah, that's my friend. She writes romance novels.
We'll talk. She's amazing.
Yeah, she's really great.
And actually, a bit of trivia, if you're not in that realm, the trailblazing African American romance novelist is from Detroit, and I've met her, and she's amazing. Her name's Beverly Jenkins, and she's like the queen. So we get to claim that in Detroit. So let's quickly talk about our experience. I know we probably all have very different experience in the comedy realm, but as a woman, and I'll type some of this to you, Susan, but as a woman, it's an interesting path in this career. So how do you think that factored into your work and your relationships? Let's start with Shantira.
I mean, like, just being a lady in comedy.
Yeah.
I think that, like, this might be weird, but, like, when I moved to Chicago, improv is, like, very white and very white male driven. And I just, like, never had a class with another Black girl. I took every class there was. I took, like, 6 one-year programs, and it was me by myself the whole time. So I'll never forget that when I was in Second City's conservatory program, like, I was, like, writing for everybody in my class. And then I got to class one day, and my teacher was Ann Libra in Chicago.
Yeah.
And she was like, okay, everybody divvy out your parts. And I had a class of 13 people, and nobody put me in any of their sketches.
Wow.
At all. 0. So I was confused because I was like, what is going on? And Anne took me outside and she goes, you have to write for yourself. I can't make anybody write for you, but like, if that's what's going to happen, I want you to get used to writing for yourself right now. And from that moment forward, I made myself the center of every sketch that I pitched. And like a bunch of my stuff got put in the show. I
was just going to say that. I'm like, I thought you had a bunch of stuff in the show.
And it was so funny because it was like when I first came into there, I was like writing equally for everyone. And I was like, this will be great. It'll be a showcase for everyone. But from when I came into comedy, and we can see it in television and movies now, the gatekeepers are like old white men. They don't know my point of view. They don't know my voice. And so when I got there, the same thing was happening for 22-year-old white boys. They did not know my point of view. They did not know my voice. And they weren't really interested in creating it for the stage. So like I got my first taste of that when I was like 23. And they were like, if you want to do this, make sure that you always have your point of view ready to go, written down, sharp as a tack. And that was when I was like, okay, like if they're ready for me to write for everyone, I got it. But I also just have a 5-minute solo piece. And like, that's how I went into comedy. That's how I went to improv. That's how I went to the sketch, was always like knowing what the room needed, but also knowing what needed to be written for myself so that I could participate, because I could not wait for other people to open a door and bring me in. So like that was my experience in comedy, just overall in general, was really honing my point of view so that I could be indispensable when I was in a room.
Do you think, and I'm not excusing the people in your class, do you think it was fear or bias that kept them from putting you in there?
I think that I would give them no credit. I don't think they thought about me at all, because they had lived an entire life where a young Black queer woman had not been a part of their lives. Like, I don't think about like old men, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yes,
they had spent their whole lives with a particular group of people, and like I showed up, and even in the classes, like if I was the only Black girl in all of my classes, I'm assuming that they took many classes without ever having a Black woman's point of view experience to have to think about. So you go through a year's worth of programming and you just meet somebody. Like I mean, like that's me meeting someone who like is a like first generation immigrant. Like if they come in and I'll be like, honestly, I haven't been thinking about this. I don't know the point of view of this. I don't know how to write for you. And I think 10 years ago when I moved to Chicago, like today, I think people would be like, okay, let me learn. 10 years ago, people were like, I don't know shit about that. I'm not gonna worry about it. So that is what I think. I don't think they thought about, I don't think they did it purposefully. I don't think they were thinking about me at all, to be honest.
I think that's fair. I think that's absolutely fair.
Everyone was trying to get their own shit in. And so I don't think they thought about me not one lick.
Well, they're going to regret it, huh?
I'm doing okay.
What about you, Susan? I'm hoping Jess can type this in. Tell us about your experience as a woman in comedy. Just generally.
She's gonna come back. It's gonna be good.
That's how deep the answer is.
She's gonna have a poster board.
She'll have a good one.
While we keep doing the IT crowd version of turning it off and on. So so that Susan reboots. There she is. Can you hear me at all, Susan?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
Hi. Sorry about that.
We're just talking about how.
I was just lucky to be a fly on the wall.
Yeah.
I'm surprised I wasn't left naked in a ravine somewhere. I'm glad to have gotten through it.
Yeah.
The only way through it is through it. Now when I look at everybody's experiences and how the younger generation, I started around 86, and how the younger generation is, can I swear? May I swear?
Absolutely.
Said, fuck this shit, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, great, let's fuck this shit. Like these guys were coming on and saying, we don't have to get groped in class, and somebody doesn't have to show me their dick after class. And since there are texts and stuff now, they don't have to stand outside my house and literally yell Stella. And people think that that's, unacceptable. And now I think that's unacceptable. So I'm applauding the younger generation a lot more than my generation of that, because most of the people in my generation have just left, and the people who stayed might have been masochists, or some of them might have not given a shit. I sort of gave a shit, so I kind of suffered for a long time, but now when I know better, I will do better, right? Mm-hmm. Is that a good answer?
A great answer. And I think this will come up, probably through Nancy and myself as well, but we'll talk a little bit about that, how much that has changed. Those views have changed too, since we came up. But Nancy, talk about your experience as a woman in all of this.
I feel like I noticed tougher times as a woman post Second City in the beginning, more so than I did during my main stage experience. And Margaret, you'll probably get this too, because I do feel like now looking back 20 some years later on that time. I feel like we were isolated in Detroit in such a wonderful way. And we were really, really fortunate with the specific group of people that we got to work with. I don't know if it was just the coolest people in the world. I think there was something about the fact that at that time we were the kind of like, unwanted stepchild or unwanted sibling or whatever of the Second City. Like I was in those early casts in Detroit, and we were getting a lot of shit of like, oh, I guess Second City is just McDonald's now. We're just going to open a franchise everywhere. And like nobody wanted to hear anything we were doing. And so we had that chip on our shoulder. We wanted to create great work, and we did create great work. And then we also had the benefit, which I did not realize it was a benefit until later, of the fact that we did not have to compete against each other because there was nobody watching us. Not for a good reason, for a bad reason, but like SNL was never coming to watch a Second City Detroit show, so we didn't have to compete against each other, because if you wanted to make it big from Second City Detroit, nothing was going to happen from there. You had to go on someplace else. So you had nothing really to worry about until you decided to leave the Detroit main stage cast. So it was a really insulating time. And so it set a great tone, but then you go out into the world, and then you do start experiencing some things that don't go so great, and some people who maybe aren't so cool, and you're like, ugh, you're a little less, prepared for it. Yeah. But I think too that, I just think to yes and what Susan said, and I know Margaret, you can as well. Everything's getting better. Everything's, it's comedy is something that for so long the world used. It's comedy. It's subjective. We use that, or people use that. They use that. Everybody used that as the excuse to hide behind. And we kind of have watched the stand-up world go through that within like the last 5 years of like, what happens when funny to one person is wholly offensive to somebody else, and where do my rights stop? And if I'm not cool with what you're saying, where is my right in that if we're creating comedy together, and that wasn't something that was ever brought up in the 90s because it was such a boys club, like you say, Shantira. It was like, as a woman, you just weren't cool. You couldn't take a joke if you were offended by something. And it was like, that's comedy. You just got to deal with it. And that was kind of the attitude from the audiences, sometimes from the directors, sometimes from, it's like, oh, well, I'm sorry. I've had male students kind of have that argument with me of like, well, I guess you just don't get my sense of humor because you're a lady. And then, my line always quickly became like, dude, I'm not offended as a woman. I'm offended as a comedian.
A person, as a human being.
You just suck. Like, that just wasn't funny. Nothing about that was funny,
No.
And so,
It's funny you mentioned that, Nancy, because, I was thinking that a while back, like for a long time, I've really wanted to teach a women's workshop, and it's never really, the scheduling never came around. And now I'm really glad that I never did it in like the early 2000s, anytime before like 5 years ago, because I think I probably would have been like the jerk who was like, you just got to learn to play with the boys, right? Because I was such a tomboy and so used to it. And it's like when skin scars over and it, you just toughen and you're just sort of like, let's be straight. And I saw a lot of dicks I never wanted to see. You know what I mean? Like,
I have never seen a dick. I've never seen a dick I never wanted to see. I've never seen a dick. But so also, those dudes weren't trying to fuck me. So, like, my experience in Chicago was vastly different from my, like, very, very femme, very pretty white girl friends. Because they'd be like, this teacher said something to me. I was like, none of these old white guys are trying to fuck a 22-year-old butch black girl. So I never had anybody grope me. I never had anybody try to do fucked up stuff to me. I had them do some racist stuff to me.
Oh, sure.
Now, 100% had some fucked up racist stuff, but I never had any guys trying to fuck me. And that, I have never been so happy to not have been the person not considered attractive in a group of men in my entire life. I have never been so grateful to walk into a room and have a group of men not want to fuck me. Those 45-year-old teachers did not want to fuck me. And I learned a lot because I wasn't worried about old white dudes trying to fuck me. They were not trying to fuck me. My friends, hardcore tried to fuck them.
Yeah.
I never saw a dick. They knew better. I would
It made a difference. I agree with you. You know, on the desire pushes the envelope, right?
Absolutely, yes.
I was always a tomboy. I came to comedy after having been the girl in high school that played video games with all the guys, and they would ask me how to get the girl that they wanted that wasn't me, right?
Yes.
That was my role. So I just slid right into that same role in comedy.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I don't know, backstage, it was always just sort of like, I've got this thing, let's see it. And it was like, okay, here's another dick.
I do think that my generation is like I moved to Chicago in 2009, and that was right when showing your dick would get you in trouble.
Yeah.
Right.
Like
nobody cared when we
5
were
years before then,
Yeah.
you could show your dick. 2009,
Yeah.
Obama became president, and you couldn't show your dick in the premium.
He outlawed it. It was the first thing he did. He outlawed
Yes,
it.
we can. No, we can't.
Well, and it was also, that's so
We're
true.
talking late 90s for us.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
anything goes.
But I mean, you said such a true thing, Margaret, about like the friend zone high school thing, because I think I too like developed my sense of humor as a defense mechanism. So it's totally that go along to get along thing, and so when I started, it was I knew how to make friends with boys instantly from the time I was a little kid, and so then you just are like, oh, I'm one of the cool ones. You can say anything you want around me. I'm cool. It's okay. Blah blah blah. And then that carries over into unhealthy ways. And then I think once you get into comedy, the cool thing too is like once you get into the main stage and you can use your voice to say whatever you want on that stage, and it starts becoming that challenge of like, because I feel like we were in that era that stopped being the women who were there to support the funny men. Like I was in the main stage when like Tina was in the main stage in Chicago and replaced John Glazer. And it was like the biggest thing in the world because the cast went 3 and 3 instead of 4 and 2, and a woman replaced a man. And she was, strong and awesome and playing all these lead roles. And it wasn't about playing wives and secretaries and nurses and girlfriends anymore. Yeah. So I felt like we got to be part of that revolution. So I kind of felt like change was happening, but it was nothing compared to like what you said, Shantira, of like what has happened within the last, 10 years. And it's impressive as hell. It really is.
Yeah. And even today, the people that are on main stage now they don't have, it's even from when I moved there into Chicago in 2009, and I did main stage in 2016. It's better now than it was when I was there in 2000. It's like consistently, but like every group of women who came before us, like really helped us.
Yeah.
Like when I got there, it was like Christina Anthony was the only Black woman in the building. And by the time I left, there were 2 Black women on main stage and 2 Black women on ETC at the same time. It's like a difference 5 years can make in what can happen for women in Chicago in comedy in general. Like it really is moving in a cool way.
Yeah.
I want to come back to that in a second, but I want to ask Susan, which I typed to her in the chat. Were you a guy's girl? Did you go along to get along? What was your coping mechanism dealing with the dudes? I don't know if she can hear. Can you hear her?
I'm here. I'm not.
Can you hear me?
Here, but I'm here.
I know.
I'm going to retype the question.
Nancy's going to type the question to you.
Yeah, they're typing a question to you.
Okay, what's the question? Can you?
There we go.
Good.
She'll come back.
It's going great. It's going great.
It's going great. This is going to be good. She's going to come back with a hell of an answer. Hell of an answer. It's like it's good because it's suspenseful.
While she's on her way back, though, Shantira, what Nancy was referring to is we were kind of spoiled in Detroit because
what are we
some
asking?
of our
Coping?
Oh, there she is.
Yeah.
How'd you deal with the guys?
I'm not here, but I'm here.
Did you see the chat?
Yeah.
So what was the question? How do I deal with the guys in
Yeah.
general? Is that the question?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yep.
Is that the question in general? How do I deal with guys? Is that right?
Look at the
Hello?
chat.
Go along, get along. I guess I was known as somebody who was willing to do anything on stage, like anything. And because I was willing to do anything on stage, and I tried to depersonalize it, then I got to hang out, be the fly on the wall. You know, so many people with so much more, I don't want to say integrity, but so much more self-esteem said, fuck this shit, and became actors, or writers or anything else, but left the communities that I was a part of, and other people just didn't care. I heard tiny bit that you had mentioned Tina. Tina just didn't care. She didn't play games. She just did the work. And I was someone that in a building, I always saw to my right and to my left. I would be involved in the politics. So when I was just doing IO or just The Annoyance or just Second City, I went home crying every night. And when I stopped doing just one building, I stopped crying. So I really didn't give a shit then. By then, what people were doing, I kind of went, oh, my path is my path. And then I celebrated the buildings I was in and left, which apparently are all burnt to the ground. Is that true? Are all the buildings burnt to the ground?
I mean,
Pretty
second-
close.
Am
yeah,
I the only one who thinks that?
Pretty close.
yeah, they burned. One of
Yeah,
them
it's
burned
rough.
literally. So
It's rough and it's time.
yeah.
Time's up.
Yeah.
One of the things that we were talking about, just to mention, Shantira, that Nancy was mentioning, and you know, not to just take up for my own town, but we were a little spoiled in Detroit because we had a lot of diversity in our casts. Very often it would be half and half. So that was normal to us, which I was really, you know, in hindsight proud of. Not like I still didn't have it all figured out. I still have cringe moments from then or whatever. But I also think the fellows that we were around, I don't know, Detroit, there's a combo of like that Midwestern thing, but also like nobody takes shit. So the guys were pretty like woke for the 90s anyway. So we're pretty lucky in that sense.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, so I want to get in because you know we're I could do this with you guys forever. This conversation is fascinating. But I have one segment that I want to do, and then we have a couple of questions from our audience. This will be a quick one though. There's not great guys out there, but there's great guys out there, and I tonight would like to institute the Hey Girl Ally Award.
Ooh.
So I would like you to talk about a man you have worked with that you think gets it and you felt supported you in your work and that you would recommend to another woman friend to work with. Susan, are you raising your hand? Do you want to go first? Awesome.
My hand, because that's my way of being able to give and take. I would have to say Mr. McNapier has absolutely transcended from the very beginning gender roles and that feeling of well, you know, since you have 3 men, you can only have 2 women or 1 woman. He's the first person who I saw do gender parody on stage and also just kind of blur gender lines and kind of fight for people who are disenfranchised and feel marginalized. I think Mick has always been a huge champion for me. He gave me real major tacit permission to be on stage, and I pretty much owe him my career. So Mick Napier.
Fantastic. Congratulations, Mick Napier. You are the first recipient of the Hey Girl Ally Award, which is currently only verbal. But as the show takes off, I'm sure there will be trophies. So do keep an eye on the mail for that. On the mail. Get it, you guys?
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Which of you would like to go next?
I'll go.
Okay, Shantira.
I just want to make it known that I hate all men, but
Okay, that's fine.
Um,
You can give it to a woman if you want to.
actually, I do have one man that I like, but
Okay.
if I could give it to a woman, I would give it to Rachel Mason, who is
Well, I can't believe it's coming up for the first time with Susan in the room.
I know
It's amazing.
Rachel.
Rachel Mason and
She's on my dream list for future
and
shows.
Susan Messing are two women that I consider my mentors. I actually audited Susan's level 2 class for like 16 weeks, way more than I was supposed to be able to teach. And then I literally remember the moment I got good in improv, and it was in a Rachel Mason class. She like gave me a note, and I was like, oh, I know how to be funny now. Like, it really truly changed my life. And I mean, like, if a man that in Chicago that really helped me was Scott Goldstein. He saw me do a bunch of solo stuff, and he was like, you should do a solo show. I am the type of person who likes to I like to go to a party. I don't like to throw a party. So like, if there is a show and you want me to be a part of it, give me a slot and I will do it. But I will not produce a show. I will not create posters for a show. I will not be in charge of the creation of a show. I have no interest in that. I also know my wheelhouse, and like, it would be good, but I'd be exhausted, and I hate. Some people love producing shows, making shows, inviting friends to do it, and I'm not one of those people. So I was like, if you want me to do a solo show, I will write it. And he was like, if you write it, I will do everything else. He did my cue lab. He did my lights.
Wow.
He did my running order. He did my music. He did
Wow.
the poster. He did everything. And he goes, you show up to rehearsal and give me the material, I'll make your show for you. And we made a fucking cool show. And I got and after that, 6 months later, I got main stage. All the producers came and saw it.
Yes.
So
what's Scott's last name? I don't know him.
Scott Goldstein in
That's
Chicago.
amazing.
He used to be the director of Redco for a while.
Okay.
And I really love Goldie because he is the type of person who likes to put the show together, and he will take an artist and let you do your best work and then be like, great, I'll make a show for you around what you built. And it really was like, talking about writing for myself, I just wrote for myself, and he really honed that show for me and helped me create something that like, I don't even think I would have believed could have been done. So Rachel Mason and Scott Goldstein changed my life.
We have a three-way tie because we'll throw Susan in there. So Rachel Mason, Susan Messing, and Scott Goldstein. Yeah. Congratulations for your Hey Girl Ally Awards.
Yes. Hey Girl Allies.
Yes.
Nancy, who's your Ally Award?
I mean, if I have a comedy spouse, it's probably you. That's true. But if I have a comedy spouse of the opposite gender who I think I've worked with, who we continually find each other throughout our careers, and he always inspires me, I got to give it up to my boy Josh Funk.
Yes, that's
you know, from being in the cast together in Detroit to then writing, creating together, he's come to me many times throughout our careers and been like, hey, I want to create this thing. You know, as an actor who's been directed by him, you know, Josh is one of those people who's just about the work, and he always treats everybody the same. And now all these years later, you know, we were fortunate enough to work together at the Second City Hollywood, and for, you know, and that was just such a great time in my life to come back together and be in each other's lives again after so many years of living in different cities. We were always in different cities at different times. And he's just one of those people that it's a lot of things that you were just saying, Shantira, like has your back and makes you a more creative person.
Absolutely.
And you know, from the time I met him, from the time we were in the cast creating together, it was always, he was that person who would write scenes with the women in mind. Like you were saying, Shantira, about your experience in class of like, you know, if there's anybody who's going to think about only themselves when they're writing, it's going to be a white man, right?
Yeah.
But, like, he was the person who would always bring in a fully flushed out scene for everybody in the cast.
Yeah, and somehow, because we would be up all night after shows till 2 a.m, you would leave his place, which was the party place, and then he would come in the next day with like 2 songs in a scene, and you'd be all mad at him.
Yeah, and you're like, how the hell did you do that? I didn't leave your house till 4
on his Apple IIe, up all night writing shit
on my brother word processor.
I would write scenes, and then at the end Prince.
take a shower for 25 minutes and while my scene was printing. But yeah, but Funk was always that
Oh my
guy.
God.
And he's definitely that guy as a director too. And, you know, we were fortunate enough to be directed by him at the Ant. And, you know, when we wrote Garage together, like just a lot of creative things throughout my career that I've gotten to do with that dude. And he's always been like, he's the true embodiment of whatever bit is best for whatever we're working on in the moment.
Yeah.
And no ego. And he just lets the best idea win. And that's not always the case with some gentlemen and some women too.
Yeah.
That come from ego first, and he never has, in my experience. So I got to give him that shout out.
Susan's throwing in there that her husband was a guy like
Yeah,
that.
totally.
Oh yeah. Michael's the best.
Yep.
Someone else I took classes with, and one of the reasons, like, he really inspired me, Michael did, as a writer, because I learned from him that everybody wants to say that they want to be a writer. Everybody wants to be a writer, but everybody doesn't want to write. And as soon as I learned that, it really changed the game for me, because I took a writing class with him, and the first day there was like 12 to 15 people in the class, and he gave us a writing assignment, and the next week the class was half full. And then the next week the class is half full. And it's like, oh, it's not easy to be an improviser, but you show up and you do the task that is given to you, and you do it in class. To be a writer, you're given the task and you have to go home and do the work. And Michael was always doing the work. And he really was like, also, there's a lot of people who like teach and have never done the thing. Yeah. He wrote for SNL. He was on main stage. Yep. He had all the jobs that everybody ever wanted. So if a man has had every job you've ever wanted, tells you to go home and write, and you go home and you don't, okay, well then you're not going to get a job. I have worked. And you want to know why I got work? It's because I said I wanted to be a writer, but I did what Michael said, and I went home and I wrote. So like, I think that is the thing that people don't say out loud. They don't say it out loud, that people want to say they're writers, but they don't want to write a damn thing.
Somebody told me that I think it was Lewis Black said a quote, something like, I'm paraphrasing, like, writer's the only career that you can just say you're it and you're it. I'm a writer. So that's 2 more awards that go out, one to Josh Funk and one to Michael McCarthy. Congratulations.
That's a good roster. That's a good roster of allies. A really good roster of allies.
I would like to give mine to Mark Warzeka, because he and I used to do 2-man shows, and I was very much a partner in that process, and he was so great to work with.
Yeah.
All right. We only have a few minutes left, and we've got a few questions that Kate Holmes from the Detroit Women of Comedy Festival was kind enough to reach out to the community of women improvisers around here and get together for us. So we'll get through as many of these as we can. We'll just quickly bang them out, and then we'll have to wrap. And man, this is going by too fast. So to begin with, what's the best advice you can give to a woman who's just starting out in comedy? Why don't we start with Susan, if we can. Susan, advice for women starting, I'm typing, out in comedy. Susan, look at the chat.
Yes.
That's for you.
Chat.
Is there a question?
Yeah, it's typed in there.
Best advice.
I don't know.
Oh, she can't see it.
She can't see it yet.
Can't see it yet. It's like lagging, I think.
I'll text it to her actual cell phone.
All right. While you do that, I'll answer.
And Nancy, you get us started, and then Shantira and Susan will text until we get an answer.
I think, you know, based on the story that Shantira told about when she started out and having to unfortunately learn that the very hard way in class with nobody, you know, creating scenes that included her, and she learned to be her own best advocate. I think that you got to focus more on what your own voice is and discovering your own voice, and less on pleasing everybody. That would be the advice, because no one ever told me that, and I wish someone had said that to me several many years before I figured that out, of like, that's more important, because if you're trying to make everybody laugh and you're trying to make everybody like you don't discover what your voice is. And I think part of it is just aging too. It's like, a lot of main stage people say this, but like, if I could go back and recreate material for the main stage now that I feel like I have so much more of a voice now of what I would say, and more of a sense of self. And I think that it wasn't that I didn't know my opinions back then, but I was so, your 20s are so outwardly focused of being worried about what everybody, or I'm sorry, inwardly focused, worried about what everybody thinks about you. And so I feel like if someone said to me like, hey, I'm just starting out and what should I do? It'd be like, what makes you laugh? What shows do you love? What actors are you most drawn to? What is really the core of your comedic voice? That should be your journey, to always get closer to discovering that voice than trying to write jokes or pilots or anything to make other people laugh, because it's not the way to success, and that's definitely not the way to happiness.
Susan knows the question now, so she can talk. Yes.
Do it, lady.
She's muted though.
Yeah, and now she's muted. We're ready to hear your genius. You're muted.
Oh,
I think her advice is learn
She told me
technology.
Can you hear me now?
There you go.
It's not just words.
Yeah.
Was the question was the best advice you'd give to women starting in comedy? Is that correct?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yes. Oh no.
What?
Okay. So I had the
perfect.
answer. She gave me the answer
Okay.
in a text. And I'll do my best, Susan, okay?
All right.
Okay.
So this is gonna be good.
Okay, listen up, motherfuckers.
Nailed it.
All right. She said that if you're on stage, you belong there. Stand your ground, and that you are brave. That's what she said. And I've taken multiple classes with Susan, and I will reiterate this, that like, if you are brave enough to pay money to take the class, people pay money to come and watch you be brave. So if you've already set foot in the classroom, you're the brave one. You've already done the hard thing. So you deserve to be there. If some dude or some other lady or some teacher tells you you don't deserve to be there, that's absolutely not true. Because if you're in your heart and you did the work, if you looked up the time and you got the money out and you saved it, or you paid on your credit card and you took the train or the bus and you walked into a room full of people that you don't know, like, was it like 90% of America is afraid of fucking public speaking?
Public speaking.
So if you
More than death.
Yeah, more than death. So if you are brave enough to walk into a class full of strangers to learn a thing, you deserve to be there. And that's what Susan is saying.
I love it.
Yeah,
Both
I love
he
it.
is. Both he is.
that's Susan. You motherfuckers.
Listen up, motherfuckers.
You
Nailed-
motherfuckers.
I think we have time for one more audience question. So you're a hilarious woman. You decide to move to a larger city, LA, New York, Chicago. What's the best advice you would give to these women going into comedy in a larger market? Shantira, start us off.
I think that this is the best thing that I learned when I moved to a new city, and that made me a better comedian and a better person, was to live a life. So many people, if you watch 12 improv shows a week, I'm going to tell you right now, 8 of them are going to be bad. You should go on a date. You should take a class, and preferably a date with someone who's not an improviser. Take a class on something that you're interested in. Take a piano class. I took a guitar class when I was in Chicago. Go watch movies. Go see plays. Be someone that if comedy doesn't happen for you, like if your dream is to be on SNL and you never ever get it, that you don't regret your time in the city you moved to, because you met people who are your forever friends that you would go be in their weddings, that you had a good time. And so many people I know move to big cities and don't have a good time, and then also might not get their dream. It's like, don't make it both of those things. Like, go and live a life. And guess what? When you go do an improv scene and you got to feel sad about a breakup, it's way easier if you've actually had real feelings instead of pretending to know what it
something to
feels
write
like.
about.
You have something to write about. So
Yes.
if you go live a real, actual life, your performances will be so much better because you don't have to fake happy. You don't have to fake interested. You don't have to fake new feelings because you're living your fucking life in a cool city. And then your improv gets better. So I think that my one thing I would say is sign up for all those classes, sure. But also fucking go to a cooking class and experience your life. So that's what I would tell people. Don't go to 8 improv classes instead of 12 and spend the other 2 hours doing some other shit.
Yeah.
That is so true and great advice because I knew it was time for me to leave main stage when all my scene pitches were about writing shows and being on stage. Will you text that to Susan while Nancy answers?
I'll tell her.
I mean, my answer is very similar. I think no matter where you are, even if you whatever city you're in doing comedy, I think you have to find some joy that's got nothing to do with this business.
Yes.
You have to. And whatever that joy is. For some people, it's their relationship. For some people, it's a child. For some people, it's their pets. For some people, it's hobbies. I think that's why I became a writer, was because it was like doing the writing when I was on main stage. That was just fun writing with all of our friends and writing the shows and everything. But I didn't really start writing on my own by myself until I was in Chicago after main stage, and it was I was doing it to be happy. Like it just made me happy to write, and that was when I could just start writing anything as opposed to having to write a scene that tried to make the show. And that was when I discovered like a love for writing. But yeah, whatever, like you gotta have joy in your life that's not about the business, especially in those big markets, because
Absolutely.
LA is a whole lot of no. It's a lot of no. And there's so many more no's than there are yeses. And they will always hit hard, but they don't hit as hard when you've got, something to wake up the next morning for and be happy about, and be like, well, the core of your life is still there and happy and unshakable. Because the rest of it is just the noise of the business, and it kind of ebbs and flows, And
I have an answer from Susan. It's quick and dirty. She says, don't be intimidated by the city. If you move there, it's your fucking city now.
Yeah.
So it's your city. And then she also said, if it's Chicago or New York, cover your face. It's cold outside. Which is good advice because I'm from Florida. And when I moved to Chicago, I did not have the right jacket. I had a jacket. I had a jacket. And then I was folding clothes at Banana Republic. And my manager said, hey, in 3 days, it's going to be too cold for what you bring to work. So when you get to Chicago, get a real jacket.
Yeah, I currently do not have my winter coat yet. I don't have one yet. I've been living in LA for the last 6 years.
Susan is helping you a lot. If you're coming from somewhere hot too, you can probably get it way cheaper. I got to Chicago, I had to drop almost 200 bones on a real jacket.
No.
And in Tallahassee, I probably could have got that from Marshall's for like $12.
I need to order it now while it's summer and nobody's thinking about it.
That used to drive me nuts when we would get off the cruise ship and we would go to the mall. They would take us to Del Amo Mall for the day. And then they would be like, and then I would see all these like fleece stuff and scarves and shit in LA. And we were in the cab on the way back to the ship one day. I'm like, the fuck is this? And the cab driver's like, it's fashion.
Yeah, it is fashion. It is. No, it is. Because people start dressing for fall when the calendar turns to fall. People start dressing in LA for fall when the rest of the world starts dressing for fall,
y'all.
I know.
It is an aesthetic. It's an aesthetic.
They also call it summer, which blew my mind the first time it was like, coming up, getting ready for summer sale. I'm like, getting ready for summer.
Right.
Time since March.
We're doing our best.
LA.
Well, I cannot thank you, amazing women, enough, amazing people enough for being with me today. This has been the thrill, definitely of quarantine, but of the year, I think, which is saying a lot. It was a tumultuous year so far. So I really appreciate you. I celebrate everything you're doing, and I hope all the best for all of your creative endeavors. Hey, girl, you're amazing.
Hey, girl. Thanks for having me.
Hey, girl, thanks for having me. And then Susan says, hey, girl, thank you. We're all beautiful, even though we're frozen.
Hey, girl,
you.
Susan, you are a survivor. Today is proof.
Yep.
And hey, girl, Shantira, amazing to meet you. Thank you for being part of this.
Thank you for having me. I'm so glad I got to be on with all these great people.
Me too.
And
hopefully
thanks to
Susan-
Jess for making it all happen. What's that,
Yes.
Nancy?
Hopefully Susan will be able to watch this whole thing later and see all the things that we said.
Until September 5th, thank you for being with us. We will be back with more amazing women. If you get a chance, donate to Planet Ant, Y Arts Detroit, or the Detroit Creativity Project, which teaches improv to young people in Detroit. Otherwise, we will see you in a month. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.